This is Noah Fransky with the final Hop Dyna presentation. I'm going to talk today about one of the tech trends that we talked about in our last week, gamification. So first of all, what the heck is gamification? Traditional classrooms have been around since, well, organized education's existed in the United States. You can see these students just in rapture at the lecture that the professor is giving, or students all sitting facing forward, being very diligent and obedient to their teacher. And even though we've had some kind of radical representations of education over the last maybe 50 or 60 years, the truth is not much has changed and students are getting pretty tired of it. So what can we do to stop this, downward trend of education? Well, we can change it up, and one way we can do that is with gamification. So let's take a look at what it is. Here's your typical high school student. Look how happy they are. It's amazing to me what the average student will do for something very simple, just a small reward like a sticker, maybe a piece of candy. In my experience, Jolly Ranchers are an excellent motivator. I learned that from my history teacher in high school, Mr. Simpson. And they will bend over backwards, especially in Edina, I've noticed. The students are so competitive that they are willing to do almost anything just for this small token of appreciation. And it's because they've grown up in this world where technology is king. My generation grew up with video games, and now they're growing up with these devices that allow them to have answers at their fingertips at a moment. They have the entire world available to them, and they're used to having the answers right now. And this competitive nature, this competitive lifestyle has led to this idea that maybe if we had some sort of game that they could compete against each other in education, that would be more useful. And so we might even need something more complex now with the way the world is, something that has a system of badges maybe where you earn certain things along the way, or maybe even something more complicated, some kind of complex game theory where they're learning through different levels and modes in order to reach a final goal. This is natural for some teachers. For example, my fourth and fifth grade teacher at Countryside Elementary School in Edina, Mr. Dennis Wagner, was incredible with this. He had this system called cues. I don't know where he learned this. He might have made it up, probably, but it was ingenious. Every student had their name on a spreadsheet. And next to the name, he had this up on the wall, we had these empty white boxes. And as we would solve simple problems, little things after lunch, whatever, we would get what are called cues. And he would fill them in like this. He would fill in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each box would be successively filled in as we got more and more cues. And we could see up on the wall how we stacked up next to everybody. Mr. Wagner passed away a few years ago, and I feel so fortunate that I ran into him as I was rollerblading around Bredesen to tell him that I was teaching and how impactful he was on my life and my career. And just to be able to shake his hand one more time before he passed away was really special to me. So thank you, Mr. Wagner, for everything. So let's talk a little bit about gamification in Mr. Fransky's classroom. There he is, that crazy guy in the front with the math tie on. And let's see what it looks like in my class. I love to have something engaging for the students all the time. When they walk in, there's always a poll on the board next to where they're putting their cell phones. I organized a few scavenger hunts this year for both the staff and the students. I have a weekly crypto quip that I write myself and students are able to solve throughout the week. And I also have a game that I stole from Mr. Schofield called Graduation, or I call it School, where students have to solve progressively more difficult problems to graduate between levels of school, from middle to high school to college to graduate to PhD. And then I have post-grad problems as well that are very, very difficult. I've never seen a more engaged classroom. They will work on those problems the entire hour. It's incredible. And that was really all I was doing until I reached this next level of assessment and gaming in my classroom called Breakout EDU. You can see the box in the lower left here has some locks on it. And what they do is they have to unlock these locks in succession by solving some problems that relate to each other. And there are all kinds of them available online. I actually went a little bit more nerdy and had my calculus students create their own. So this is what I did for my final summative assessment for calculus this year. And the students, I have two sections, and they created one, and then the other class had to try to break out. And this is just some of the pictures that show some of the methods that the students used. You can see we had some students standing on desks. There was a Spanish crypto quip involved. It was crazy. So, needless to say, I had to buy some more Jolly Ranchers this year because I'm using more and more of these strategies to try to entice students. Also, I was touched to have one student write me a crypto quip at the end of the year to tell me how grateful she was. So thank you for paying attention, and that's it.